This is the Jetting Up Podcast with B-Reich and Bryan Foti. A pleasant good day to you. Another live edition of the Jetting Up Podcast. I am Bryan Foti alongside with my co-host Bryan Reichert. B, what's up, kid? How we doing today on this Wednesday?
Doing good, man. Had a great weekend. My cousin Shawnee ended up getting married. Beautiful
congratulations.
wife, Allie at Montauk Downs.
I saw the pictures with the family looking good.
Got a little golf in. Course was unbelievable. And enjoyed the bye week, man.
Yeah, it was a great bye week. I didn't watch football at all on Sunday. I took a break from that.
I couldn't either, man.
It was just a nice stress-free weekend. Your Yankees are in the playoffs now, getting ready for a big wild card matchup on Friday. Mets finished up the season. I got to watch their last game, so it was nice to get a little break from the Jets. But now we got to get back right into it. I guess we'll start with the news. Adam Gase just had his daily press conference. The news on Monday was that Sam Darnold's spleen was not reduced enough to clear him for contact. They did clear him for throwing and to rep up his cardio. They just got on the practice field a few minutes ago, and he told the media that he's going to be tested again on Friday to see if he can play, and the latest possible time they can clear him is Sunday, which concerns me a little bit because I listened to Darnold on the Michael Kay show when he went on ESPN radio on Monday afternoon. He says he really wants to play. He's itching to get back out there, but I don't want them to rush him, and it seems a little bit today. Maybe it's more gamesmanship from Gase because I don't think he's going to play, but if they rush him out there and something happens to this kid's spleen and his career is ruined because of it, it would be the most idiotic, and it would be bad.
1,000%, man.
There'd be lawsuits. If you're his parents, he's still 20. He's a kid. There'd be lawsuits if the doctors clear him, and it's a disgrace.
Listen, everybody wants him to play, obviously, but when you take a step back and you look at it, the Jets are 0-3 right now. Do we need to rush him back? No. This O-line needs to figure it out. I'm not throwing a kid who's one shot away from being done for the year and possibly done in football behind this O-line. There's no way we should rush him back. We should take our time, make sure this guy's healthy. I mean, they talk about how he's going to be our quarterback for the next 10 years, but we're going to rush him back in week 5.
Yeah, in a season when you're 0-3 and not a playoff team with a lot of holes. So I really don't see the purpose of doing that. But this smells to me either gamesmanship or Adam Gase is really feeling the pressure of an 0-3 start. Really needs his quarterback in there, and that could be bad because if you're not thinking with a clear head, and I'm sure the doctors aren't. I mean, the Jets doctors have to, they have their careers on the line.
It's going to be hard to clear him for contact.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing, man. I don't know.
There's no way he plays this weekend.
I don't think so either. I'd be shocked if he comes back next week against Dallas too. I'd still be because you just don't know.
I've kind of been settled on the fact that I think it's either going to be Jacksonville, or maybe week 10, or maybe he's done for the year.
I'm starting to come to gripes that he might be out for the whole year. I'm starting to play that in my mind that it's going to be.
Listen, it's a possibility. It's a unique situation. It hasn't happened a lot, and he's just in a position that's not good for that spot. It's tough to play quarterback, especially with a line that's ranked in the bottom 5 of the NFL, like we talked about before the season.
Yeah, and especially for him. It's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong.
He's an athletic guy, man. He wants to move around in the pocket. He wants to be mobile. He's not going to be a statue.
No, and I just don't. I think this season's going to be a lost season. That's just the way I see it going.
Well, listen, it's definitely going to be a lost season if we rush him back and he gets,
it could be a lost career.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do that, it could be a lost season. It's a shame if he doesn't play because now people are going to start to say, is he a bust? I've said it a couple times.
A million times,
yeah. And it will be scary because now if he comes back next year and doesn't play well, then what do? It's year 3. That's down the line. We'll talk about that next year when we get there. But, it's right now you don't want to rush him. You hope that he plays at some point. But the way the Jets, they haven't had a season like this with injuries in a long time.
No, and we also, need an update. I mean, what are you hearing about C.J. Mosley?
Yeah, I thought he was going to play this week. It doesn't look like he's going to play either. His groin, he says he can run straight, but he can't cut.
Having
trouble cutting. Yeah, lateral movement, cutting. Quentin Williams is back, though, so he's back full practice, but big deal. I mean, this has been one of the worst seasons for Jets with injuries in a long time, and, it just shows you what the problem was. I mean, they haven't really been decimated by injuries in a while. Their teams haven't been talented, but this just shows you the team that Mike McCagnon left, and this is why it's so important to hit on your middle round draft picks because
even have them on the roster,
yeah,
Bryan.
And I was listening to a couple podcasts during the week. Rich Samini did a nice one. I was listening to his, and he was talking to Mike Greenberg from ESPN Radio, and he was saying one scout had told him that the last 6 drafts that you have are like the core of your team. And when you look at the Jets' last 6 drafts, they only have like 5 guys on the team. So, and out of those 46 players or whatever it was that are drafted,
it's unbelievable.
23 of them are out of the league.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to wonder. That fact right there is the reason why the Jets stink.
Yeah.
And have been bad.
And a lot of good organizations, like you look at the Patriots, you look at the Steelers, they don't have 4 or 5 good players like the Jets do with Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley. They have like 30 good ones.
Absolutely.
And you build the money. So maybe it's not all about getting the splashy free agent and spending all that cap space. I mean, it helps if you have a little bit.
It's hard to think that, though, when you've seen the way the Jets have drafted. Like I've said, I'm almost ready to give up on the picks because they're not using them for anything.
I know, but you need to. For football, you have
even
so
this
many
year,
players.
I mean, our 3rd-round pick gone. Not even on a practice squad.
I know.
It's crazy.
They need to find a general, and hopefully Joe Douglas is the guy. You can't judge him until the offseason, but they need to find an evaluator that can get these players in here and draft players that make impacts in the middle rounds of the draft because the meat and potatoes of the team. If injuries happen, I mean, you look around the league all the time. The Patriots, Bill Belichick does it
next
every
man
year.
Up, man.
Next
Step
man
up.
They make a play. They come in. Their seasons aren't lost. Even when Brady got hurt that one year, Matt Casley won 11 games. I mean, you look at good organizations. The Steelers for a long time. Their middle picks are always good. They come in. I mean, I know they're struggling right now. They lost Ben, but they may get it together. Rudolph looked all right the other night. So, that's just one thing that I notice with, the draft picks and the injuries. And it just goes to show you the lack of depth that the Jets have on their team right now. And they have to, really get that together in the offseason. But, yeah, CJ's probably out this week. Quinn Williams is back, and Sam is a huge up in the air. And I think it's going to be an up in the air thing for the rest of the season, pretty much. But we'll see. Maybe he'll come back and play him. Maybe they'll shock us all and play him. But then his spleen better not rupture.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. And moving on, we're gonna break down the Eagles preview a little bit. 13.5 point underdogs. Our Jets are over under 44 on CBS, 1:00. What are you thinking about this game, Bryan?
Well, Sam's probably not going to play again. It's unfortunate because I think if he was in the lineup, if he was healthy, they might have had a chance.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this Eagles team? Well, go into a little bit of what you think. A lot of people had high expectations. I want to say their over-under number was around 9.
Yeah.
A lot of people think this team's a playoff team. What do you think first 4 weeks in?
Well, they've kind of gotten off to a rough start. They didn't play that well against the Redskins, but they ended up beating them.
Yeah, they were down big early.
The Lions came in there. The Lions came in and beat them, but they look like they're a legit team. They played Kansas City tough. They beat the Chargers
Lions are
at home.
A complete question mark.
Yeah,
I don't get how you tie Arizona and then
they looked weird,
smack
but
the Eagles like that.
But then they went into Philly. They went into Green Bay last week. And then they laid a stinker a couple weeks ago, too, and they were 2-2. So, they're an up-and-down team. I think they're going to start to, that win last Thursday was a big win for them on a short week, coming off a loss. Everybody's saying, oh, boy, they could be 1-3 if they lose to Green Bay.
Aaron Rodgers literally gave them that game. My God.
Yeah.
Run the ball.
Yeah, well, that's a lot on the play calling. But, this Philly team, I think they're going to get right. Carson Wentz is a good quarterback.
It's a good team to get right against. Folks.
Yeah, exactly. The Jets are a good team to have coming in with their defense. They'll be able to throw the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to run it so much. I got to
tell you that I'm not a fan of their running game at all. I thought Howard was going to be a nice pickup. They haven't, he hasn't been great. I know he had a nice week, I think, last week. Hasn't been great. Doesn't really fit their scheme of kind of zone running, more of a downhill guy. And never been a fan of the kid Miles Sanders, who a lot of people love. Never been a fan and hasn't shown me much. So I think they're going to be throwing it all over the field.
Yeah, and why would you do anything else against
I'm horrified to see these guys try and cover Ertz, too. It's just a nightmare matchup.
No linebackers. It's going to be a rough matchup in the secondary. I mean, I think they can play all right.
I don't know if any of their receivers really worry me, though.
Yeah, no,
Alshon's always banged up. I mean, he could kill the Jets if he's in and healthy.
But Carson Wentz can move around. There's no pass rush. He's going to be able to extend.
Incredible too.
And their line can block and hold up. And what's going to happen, I think, is he'll be able to extend a little bit of the plays, and then the Jets aren't going to be able to hold up because Tremaine Johnson,
just wear us down.
Hairston and not Poole. Roberts aren't going to be able to, cover their
You
man
think
for that
Tremaine
long.
plays?
I think he'll get action on dime, but they spread the field a lot. They're going to throw the ball, so
They're going to
maybe
throw the ball a ton.
so. But I don't know. It's just
Think the Jets have any chance to cover the spread?
13.5. They got to win by 2 touchdowns. With the way their offense has been playing, I don't think so, man. I think they're going to lose by 2 touchdowns again. I think they'll lose
It's
by
hard
14.
to argue. I mean, 32nd in yards per game.
They've scored 1 touchdown this year in 3 games. It's crazy.
28th
And Luke Falk's going to be back there again.
32nd in passing.
I mean,
good.
they better make changes on the offensive line. And Gase did say they're playing for their job, so maybe we'll see an update.
Some urgency, you think?
I don't know what's going to happen. I hope they get Khalil out, though. That's the first thing I want to see. I really don't.
Him and Winters could go.
Yeah,
immediately.
man.
I mean, Fletcher Cox is just. I'm worried. Man.
And the Eagles don't really have a pass rush. They're ranked lower to the lower tier of the league.
Besides Cox, I think Cox is incredible.
Yeah, he's a good player, but they haven't generated much. But watch him on Sunday have a big game. We're gonna have to.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. We're gonna have to. It's gonna be a beautiful.
Who's the
day.
guy? Brandon Graham gonna have a big game.
Of course, somebody's gonna get sacked. We're gonna have a beautiful weather outside. What's the weather on Sunday here in New York? It's probably gonna be 65 degrees, nice, cool, crisp day. 69. And partly cloudy, but it's still going to be 70 degrees, probably one of the nicest, one of the last few nice days of the year. And we're going to be stuck inside watching this dog crap team, and it's going to be a brutal loss.
Well, listen, I kind of agree,
0-4.
The Jets have never, ever beaten the Eagles.
Oh, yeah, we haven't even got to that stat yet.
And, I think it continues. I think they lose. But, you brought up exactly the term that I want. Like, everyone's playing for jobs. I don't care if we get crushed. I just want these guys competing. And if they don't, then they're out. Then I'm ready to move on from anybody on this roster.
Yeah, and that's a big key, too, as the trading deadline gets going. Joe Douglas is going to have to decide if they keep losing. I saw one of your tweets today that the NFL trade rumors had, talking about if the Jets continue to lose, will they maybe get rid of Leonard Williams?
What the heck do you think we could even get back for that guy? He's been such a freaking bust, man.
I know. It's been bad.
Production-wise.
Maybe a 5th or 6th round pick.
So we're going to trade Darren Lee for a 6th round pick and then Leo for a 5th round pick. I mean, that's just.
I mean, what do you want from him? You're not going to sign him.
I agree. I don't know what we get from him.
You might as well just get something for him, And instead of letting him walk, at least gets a little.
I'm totally down with getting something for an asset than letting him walk.
And I'm done with Robbie Anderson too. I'm like gonna give him a couple more games.
I'm gonna wait till Darnold gets back before I hammer Robbie and finish him off.
But he don't do nothing, man. These receivers don't do nothing for me. I mean, come on, get open. I mean. At least other teams make. I mean, maybe that's on coaching too.
There are
but,
guys you never heard of getting more open. Than
exactly,
these guys.
But these guys have been here for 3 years and they haven't made plays, even under Todd Bowles. And I know, it's just I'm frustrated, man. It's rough. This week off, it's not going to be easy. It's just been a tough couple weeks. Nothing's easy with this team, and it's just very,
it's
tough.
hard to look forward to it. There's nothing real exciting. It's kind of like. We're just kind of biding our time until we get our QB back.
I know. Herndon comes back for the Dallas game, maybe, but if Darnold's not there, I mean, it's just rough right now. So we'll see, but let's move on. We don't really like the matchup for the Eagles. We've got a couple fantasy, and we'll do some picks before we get into our 2-minute drills. So I got a couple fantasy matchups. Fantasy football season in full swing. Going into week number 5. I can't believe it's already week 5 in the NFL. First full month, we're cruising. We were doing this since training camp and like OTAs and stuff, so it's been good. But a couple fantasy matchup. We're gonna give a couple players a matchup at a position. Which player would you take on your team for the rest of the year? So my first one I'm gonna do is Christian McCaffrey versus Alvin Kamara.
Probably, you hit it right from the beginning. Easily the best question that you're gonna ask. 2 fantastic backs, 2 of my favorite backs in the NFL by far. I think they're the best 2. They're the most dynamic. I love them that they're basically receivers playing running back. I think moving forward, it's really tough because both of them are working with backup quarterbacks. That's why I love the question so much. But as much as I love Christian and I own him this year on a team, I think I'm going to have to go with my guy Alvin Kamara. Just because when he gets Drew back, I think that they'll be in full swing. And who knows what's going on with Cam.
Yeah, I don't know when Cam Newton's coming back. I got Cam on my other fantasy team, and it's not looking good. But
Nightmare.
I like that. Kamara's a good pick. All right, here's another interesting one: Keenan Allen versus Odell Beckham Jr.
Another good one. I'm a huge Keenan Allen guy. I owned him a couple of years back when he got hurt a little bit, but I usually own him. He's very productive when I have him. Clearly the number one for the Chargers. Has gotten a ton of targets, has already had a monster game already. And I think when I just take a look at it, is even though I think OBJ is probably more talented than him, and, Bryan asked me this because I like to rip on OBJ all the time, but as talented as he is, the way that the Browns offense has been so up and down, I think I just got to take the volume and I got to take the more consistent quarterback, and I got to go with Keenan Allen for sure.
All right, quarterbacks now. Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen.
Another good matchup. That's tough because, Allen brings, a little bit of a unique aspect with the running ability. I think he loves to run. He's great around the goal line. But the only thing is their offense is a little limited, and he is a little turnover prone, as we've seen. Had a 3-interception game against the Jets and the Patriots. Has struggled at times. Their offense is going to get, probably tougher to score, down the stretch as the weather gets worse. So I think I'd go with Kyler Murray. I think he's got a little bit better weapons. I think he's obviously got a better running back. His O-line is not as good, but, like the wide receivers, love Larry Fitz. And I think yardage-wise, I think Kyler Murray's a better option.
And the last matchup. I doubt many people own these defenses in fantasy, but who you taking, the Jets defense or the Giants defense?
Well, the Jets defense has been pretty good so far. Probably the highlight of the Jets besides, Le'Veon Bell, who was fantastic the first 3 weeks, at least number-wise and volume-wise. But I would definitely go with the Jets defense for the rest of the season. Get to play Miami twice. You got a little bit of a softer schedule in the middle. You're playing Oakland, you're playing Cincinnati. They do play the Giants. And the Giants' defense just isn't that good, Bri. I really don't like their front seven. I think they got some talent in the secondary, but, not a lot of pass rush. Very inconsistent. So I would go with the Jets.
All right, there you have it. That's our fantasy matchups. Man, I'm just thinking about it. The Jets are going to get beat down again this week. It's going to be rough.
What do you have for a final score of the Eagles-Jets? I know you said that you think the Eagles are going to cover, but what would you give me a final score if you had to predict?
31-7. I think they'll get a touchdown, but who knows how it'll score.
31-7. All right, that's actually a pretty good prediction. I was going to go with 28-10 Eagles winning, 28-10. Moving on, we are going to go through a little of Foti's picks, see where his head's at.
This is becoming one sad show.
Don't worry, bro. Hang in there, man. We just got to get Darnold back. It's kind of like exactly how I predicted that if we lost the Bills game, we were going to be 0-6. But, listen, we're moving on. We're trying to stay positive. Let's go over some picks.
And
we won't bring up the Jets.
Your predictions, man. You could still have an 8-8 after that game. 0-6 is only one game off the stretch.
Only one game off my pace, as crazy as that is to say. All right, so we're going right into it. Thursday night, NFC West battle. We got the LA Rams and Goff looking for a bounce back at Seattle -1.5. Who are you going with, bro?
With the point spread, I'm taking not the Eagles, the Seahawks in this one. I really like, Thursday nights are tough, especially for the road team. I know Philly did it last
2 weeks.
Yeah,
the road team has won, surprisingly.
I know, but
before that, the record is, unbelievable.
Yeah, so but this Seattle team has looked good at the start of the season. I think they're playing well. I think Pete Carroll's going to have them ready to go. The Rams are coming off a tough performance. I think their offense will bounce back, but it's always tough going into Seattle to beat those guys up there, and especially on a short week. It's a low point spread. I think I almost said the Eagles again. I think Seattle can win by a field goal or more. So I think I like Seattle in this one.
All right, so he's got the Seahawks coming out victorious on a Thursday night. All right, another divisional matchup. Baltimore at Pitt. Pitt getting 3.5. Who you got?
Ooh, this is an interesting matchup. I love the Ravens coming into the season. I'm going to ride with them. I'm going to,
Kind of got smacked up on Sunday.
I know. I'm actually going to take the Steelers with the points in this one, but I think the Ravens win the game close, so I think they'll get to 3-2. Pittsburgh, they showed me a lot. I know it was against Cincinnati. They won 27-3, but, Mason Rudolph can throw the ball a little bit down the field. They got a well-coached team with Tomlin there. Their offensive line has played a little bit better. They opened up some holes. They had the 2 backs going off, and I think, they'll make enough plays. They're at home this game, which I think is important, and I think they'll have enough big plays to keep this game close. But in the end, I think the Ravens squeak it out by a point or two, but I'm taking the Steelers with the points. I think it's a safe bet with that.
All right. Moving on. Kind of a little bit of a crazy game, battle of the backups. Jags at Carolina. Carolina -3.5.
This is a tough one, too, because Carolina's offenses look good. And
look better without Cam.
Yeah, they've looked better. So they're at home, 3.5. Gardner Minshew has played well. Jacksonville is still predicated though on their defense. Yeah. So this is a game, Carolina. I'm going to pick the home team. I think Christian McCaffrey has a big day. Jalen Ramsey, we don't know what his situation is, so I think they'll be able to throw the ball a little bit. And Minshew, I know he's played well, but he hasn't really lit it up really just yet besides opening day. He's managed the game well. So I think this is a game where Carolina's defense can get after him at home. And I'm going to pick the Panthers in this one, -3.5.
All right. And, just a little background on that game. As a guy that, is more of an NFL guy, I just want to get your opinion. What do you think of these 2 backup quarterbacks? I mean, Minshew, a late-round pick from Washington State this year, and, Kyle Allen, who's been in the, league been in the league for a couple of years now as a backup. But what do you think of these guys? Have you seen these guys at all in the little brief clips that you've seen? Or what do you think of these 2?
Well, I watched because I have Christian McCaffrey on my fantasy team, and I thought Kyle Allen has looked very good so far in his 2 starts that he's made for the Panthers. So I thought that he played a nice job, especially that game in Arizona 2 weeks ago.
He looked great.
He didn't do much in this past weekend against Carolina, but he did enough to manage the game to get the win. I mean, when you look at his performance, he did go 24-34. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but didn't throw any interceptions. So, I mean, there was more of a McCaffrey day. They gave him the ball 30 times.
So you like Allen more than Minshew? Break down Minshew a little bit. What do you think of his?
Yeah, Minshew, so like I was telling you before, just looking at the eye test, he played very well in that opening game against Kansas City. But after that, I mean, that Thursday night game against the Titans, Jacksonville was losing early on, but they got a nice win. They're at home that put him on the fourth, man. Yeah, he's played well late in the game. He led the team down the field last week to pull out that win there. That was a big win for them in Denver, especially at 1-2. Gets them into it. But Leonard Fournette really had a big game there. I mean, you look at it, he had threw a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, gave him the lead, and then Fournette with the big run.
What do you think of Fournette? If you were Jacksonville, would you re-sign that guy?
I think you have to. I mean, I know he's a little injury-prone.
A little disappointing.
But, the team has gone to the conference championship once. He was a big part of it his rookie year. I know he was hurt, but he's still a good back. I mean, when you put hands down, push comes to shove, you need a running game.
I'll give you a prediction. I say they dump him, and they pick up Jonathan Taylor next year to be their back. He'll be the first back taken in the draft, Jonathan Taylor.
You think they're getting rid of Leonard Fournette? Okay.
Yeah, I think they let him walk.
Let him walk. Is he already up for contract already?
I think he is.
I thought, well, yeah, you're probably right. I don't
he probably
know
has an option coming up, I think.
That
I have to look
fifth-year
into
option?
it a little bit more.
Let's bring him up here. I'll do my little Mike Francesa impersonation right now as I look it up on my phone. But how many years in the league? He's got 3 years in the league, so I think he's still got maybe one more. 2017. So yeah, he's on June Walt. He'll have one more year. So I don't think they'll dump. They could possibly dump him. So, but maybe they could look to trade him. That could be a thing too. And I think there'll be takers on that. So
yeah, Leonard Fournette, definitely an interesting guy. When healthy, put up a monster week last week. We'll see. But moving on. Another good game. I mean, Atlanta, just an absolute dumpster fire. Who knows what's going on with our guy, Danny Quinn. They're at Houston. Houston get -5. Who are you going in that matchup?
They're at Houston -5. Oof. I've liked Atlanta in my football pools the last 2 weeks, and they've really let me down. So I
can't get enough betting Atlanta, man.
Yeah, it's rough. They've been killing me the last couple of weeks. But I really like the Texans in this one. I think Atlanta For some reason, there's something wrong with them. Watch, they'll light it up. They're a weird team. They should be better than their record. They beat Philly at home in their one run of the season. They haven't looked good. They lost last week. I think they were playing
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Awful.
Yeah, awful. Yeah. And
10 points against Tennessee?
I know.
Not
Crazy.
good.
Yeah, not good. They're going to Houston this week, but something tells me it's a tough game because Houston has looked shaky too. They're not like spectacular. I mean, they've played all right.
Now
They went into the Chargers and beat the Chargers on the road, right? The Texans. Was that 2 weeks ago? Their 2 wins.
I'm not sure about that.
Let me take a look who they played. Maybe
While
that
you're
was the
looking
Colts.
that up, I want to ask your
Yeah, they won last
too.
week, 2 weeks ago, against the Chargers. They went into Los Angeles, beat them. They lost to the Panthers at home. And they played good against the Saints, and then they beat the Jaguars in a close. They're a weird team too.
Another weird team.
Yeah.
Now compare these 2 quarterbacks, Brian. What do you think when you're looking? Who would you take? Would you rather a Deshaun Watson or would you rather a guy like Matty Ryan? Where would you lean towards?
Well, right now, I think you got to lean towards Watson just because he's a lot younger in the stage of his career. He can run, he can pass. I mean,
What if you had to pick one for one season?
One season. Well, the way that today's NFL is, I'd still take Watson.
Completely agree with you.
Yeah, the spread, I think you have to. I mean, the Falcons...
I think Watson's dynamic. I think, he's got a great arm. And he's, like you said, he's today's NFL quarterback. And Matt Ryan's, kind of fallen on his face a couple times.
Yeah,
so who are you going with? Houston, Atlanta? What do you got?
This would be a game that I wouldn't touch. But -5, I'd take the Falcons again. I'm going to say
he's going again. He's ripping open the scar. He's ripping off the Band-Aid. Atlanta again. I can't believe it. All right, last pick. Final one for Foti. Green Bay at Dallas. -3.5. Potential. This is a potential playoff matchup.
Yeah, it could be a potential playoff matchup. I honestly think the Cowboys are a little overrated. That's why I think the Jets.
You've been down on them all year.
I don't think they're that great of a team this year. I think the Packers coming off a loss, a little bit of extra
Both teams
time.
coming off a loss.
Yeah, I think that this is the week. I know Cowboys didn't look good on Sunday Night Football. I think this is the week that Aaron Rodgers goes back to Dallas where he had that game a couple of years ago where they pulled it out late. I think he pulls another big performance like that. They're getting points in this one, correct? Right? They're getting 3.5. I think that's going to be my 10-point game in my pool for that I'm in.
One thing to note on that, Brad. I think I like that.
The tackle for the Cowboys is not going to play.
Adams has got to be healthy though for you to bet that.
Yeah,
just something to monitor. I think he's got turf toe. He may sit.
That's true.
Adams really gets cooking with Rodgers. So
yeah,
something to look at. All right, so he's going to go with Seattle. -1.5. He's going to take Pitt. +3.5. He's going to go with Carolina. -3.5. He's going to take a road dog. +5. Atlanta. And another road dog. Green Bay +3.5. There are Brian Foti's picks. Now we are headed toward the 2-minute drill.
All right, it is time for the 2-minute drill. I'll ask you some questions first. Do you think Sam Darnold plays this weekend against the Eagles?
Absolutely not. Like I said, I think he either comes back Jacksonville or he's out for the year, unfortunately.
Do you trust the Jets to make the right decision? You think they'll rush him back? That's my next question. I'm serious.
Oh, my God. I think there is going to be a lot of pressure to rush him back, but hopefully cooler heads prevail and they do not.
So you do trust him?
I trust Douglas, but I don't know who to trust because there's no hierarchy. But I think that they're not going to play him. I will trust Joey D.
Can Le'Veon Bell have a breakout game against Philadelphia this weekend?
I actually think he can, but I also think it's going to really determine on how the first quarter is. I think if the Jets could somehow score early, I think he could really get a lot of usage in that first half. But if they start getting blown out, Bryan, I really don't see them playing him that much. So I think it'll depend early, but I see he could have a breakout game in this game.
All right, what do you got for me?
All right. If you had to go back to the 2018 draft and the Jets had the first overall pick, knowing now what you know today, who would you take number one?
Who would I take number one? God, no one's really stood out so much. Mayfield, I still got to take Sam. I haven't seen enough of him yet. I know I'm hard on him, but
he calls him a bust, and he's still going to take him one.
Well, I don't want Baker Mayfield. You want Baker Mayfield? You want that guy who can't hit the backside of a barn? I know he played good last week, but man, I don't know. I don't want Josh Allen. I know he's got a big arm, but and Rosen, my boy Rosen, who was the worst of all of them. So I mean, and Lamar Jackson's off to a nice start, but he's not a long-term answer. So
it's funny that he's sticking with the quarterback, folks. He didn't have to take a quarterback, but he's sticking with Sam.
I'm not
moving
taking
on
Barkley.
to our next question. If we could have any current Jet on right now, any pick of the litter, who would you want right now for next week?
Sam Darnold.
He wants Sammy on, maybe to discuss who we got mono from.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. Have you sold all your tickets this year? Have you packed it in yet?
I'm trying to, but no one's buying right now. Just Dallas is sold.
Just
They're
Dallas
on
is sold.
StubHub.
Shocker. The whole place is going to be Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And number 4, if you were the GM of the Jets heading into next year's draft, knowing what you know, what position would you take? What's your priority number 1 pick position going to be on?
It has to be right now. You need to pick a left tackle.
Need to pick a
You
left
need
tackle.
to protect
Andrew
him.
Thomas, Georgia. You heard it here first, baby.
You need to pick a left tackle, and you also need a pass rusher. You need to get 2 first-round picks, like 2 top 10s. Oh, what a nightmare it's been. But, that's the 2-minute drill. The Jets, again, will be in action Sunday at 1 o'clock on CBS. You can always listen to them on the radio on 98.7. You can hit us up on our social media accounts. We'll drop this episode a little bit later in the day. So for now, me and B-Reich will talk to you next week, as the Jets are probably going to be 0-4, headed into a home matchup against the Cowboys. Hopefully not, but for now, we'll talk to you real soon. And always remember, Jet fans, Jet up.